We are at the Dover Raceway for the Dover 200 for this NASCAR Busch Series race on the channel. And in this one, we have just 7 races to go into crowning our Busch Series champion. And also coming into this race, obviously, we have the points lead. Went from a 69-point lead 3 races ago to 2 races ago, a 44-point lead. And now back to a 69-point lead once again as we begin tonight's stream. Be sure to hit the like button if you haven't done so yet. Subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. We're leading into our final live commentary weekend of the season, where this week we have Cup, Xfinity, Truck Series Racing, all coming your way at the Phoenix Raceway, and obviously all for championship weekend. So yeah, final live commentary streams of the weekend. That will begin tomorrow. We'll have a doubleheader Friday, doubleheader Saturday, leading into, of course, the main event on Sunday afternoon. And that's going to be it until February for that side of things, but we'll still have daily content on the channel. NASCAR-oriented content, as always. And, yeah, getting into this one here, let's just start this race. We're on the pole. That's good. Hopefully, from the pole, we can get the win. Tony Stewart qualified second. Hopefully, we can also try to find our way to keep him out from leading a lap. Almost impossible. It seems like every time I try to do this, he ends up leading a lap at some point, whether that's during green flag pit cycling. He just outright passes us for the lead. In the instance last night, he tried to wreck us and then got by Dale Jr. on a restart. So we'll see. We'll see. He's probably going to try to wreck us again right off the rip, especially starting alongside of us. Hopefully that doesn't happen. And hopefully we can have as clean of a day as we possibly can. Green flag is in the air. We're underway at Dover already into the first turn here. Trying to get that launch on the initial start. Side by side. Little contact. Stewart squeezed Boyer off the exit of turn 2. And Stewart actually ricocheted into the wall. And Boyer's going to lead the opening lap of the race as a result of that. So big mistake there by Tony Stewart. It was going to be close to see who was going to have it naturally. I mean, it looked like we were going to have a drag race there off turn 2. Boyer missing his marks a little bit. Had to lift off the exit of turn 2. Kyle Busch has a run on him now into 3 and 4. I was a little tight in qualifying too. I actually got up against the wall my second lap. Luckily on the first lap, that was my quick time to get to the pole. I didn't make any adjustments post-qualifying into the race, so hopefully it's not going to get too tight on the long run is what I'm hoping for. Stays like this, we'll be A-okay. Wade MotoGP Merchant, Ryan Berwick, Ty, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Racing season went by so fast, it really did. Really, really did. I think, trying to think like when it really sped by for me. I felt like we had our slow point in the summer when they got to the Olympic break. Like that first off week went by quick, but then the second one for me personally just kind of lagged on a little bit. Wasn't doing as much with the live commentary side of things. But then once they came back from the Olympic break, I felt like that part of the season just flew by. Kyle Busch is staying right there with Boyer, but track position is always huge here at Dover. It's huge at most tracks, but it's very difficult to pass here, so try to keep this thing out in front as much as we possibly can. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see if this is going to be a 1 or a 2 stop race the further along we get. I didn't go back and look at that first race earlier this season at Dover to see if that was a 1 or a 2 stopper. So long ago we ran that race. Didn't give myself enough time earlier in the day to do that like I did with the Richmond race yesterday. Got entered 2003 in your school's esports league. Well, there you go. On their esports team, excuse me. I don't know exactly what that entails, but sounds cool to me. Yeah, that wasn't a thing when I was in school. We didn't have like an esports team. Granted, I went to a smaller school too. My graduating class only had like 60, give or take, somewhere around there. Yeah, NFL season's already halfway over. I mean, just think though, if we didn't have the extra off week, we'd already be into the off season this year. It's going to be a 1 week shorter off season than we've had the last few years, so at least there's that to look for. I think it's going to be wild next year that they have the off week instead of in the middle of the summer or the short side of the summer like they have had the last couple of years. It's going to be on Easter in April, and then they're going to go the rest of the season after that without another off week. It's going to be a grind for those teams, that's for sure. Yeah, I don't know what's classified as like a big school. Like 80 doesn't seem like that much either. Like there could have been upper or lower classmen that had around that many in my school. Like that's very well possible. I always remember my class being one of the smallest, because I can remember teachers saying something about that. But even 80 would be probably pushing it a little bit. Well, Tony Stewart's been consistently running in the third place position after obviously starting in second. Fell to third initially after trying to wipe us out off turn 2 on the opening lap. Clearly did not succeed. Yeah, I'll probably be more focused on my Packers for sure, but especially with, like, I try to watch some Red Wings games, for instance, like during the week. A little easier for me to do it then, obviously, but I'll be able to catch some weekend games more often as well. My Packers are definitely taking up my Sundays until racing comes back, that's for sure. Or until they get eliminated from the playoffs, whatever happens first. We'll see if they have a run in them this year. They exceeded my expectations last season, so there's always that chance. Yeah, I don't want to clip that apron. There was one time in the opening laps I almost clipped it, and I had to get out of the gas as soon as I felt like I was going down there, and I kind of did that same thing again there. I just don't want to have a knee-jerk reaction to almost clipping it and then like drive up the track and give up the lead to Busch, because I would imagine he's got some decent speed in it considering he's keeping up with us this entire way, and we're pulling away from everybody else. It's just a 2-car breakaway right now. So trying to go for back-to-back wins again. And just like we did last night at Richmond with the sweep, trying to get the sweep here at Dover as well. Got a lot of intermediate tracks still to go to yet this season, which could be a struggle. Our only road course so far this year at Watkins Glen was a struggle. We still have to race at Old Spice Speedway, so by no means is it going to be a cakewalk the rest of the year. Really, outside of Phoenix, the second to last race of the season, I think the rest of the races we have going forward, while we could win, I don't think we're going to have a dominant car like we've had during the summer stretch of some of these fantasy short tracks popping up. Or even, not even just the fantasy short tracks, you know, like a Bristol and a Richmond even that we've had this week as well. Dover tonight. It's probably going to be no more, so we'll do what we can. Execute tonight, and then when next week comes, and we've got 6 races to try to win that championship next week. I think it is going to come down to the last race. It's been, well, I was going to say it's been a minute, but I guess technically last season with the Busch Series, it also came down to the last race. Good news is we don't have another super speedway left this year. That is awesome. I will gladly take that. Ethan Chua, thanks for tuning in. Well, that would just be the best case scenario. Appreciate the consistency. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I don't know if you're talking about, I was starting to second guess myself. I thought you were talking about my consistency on the season. I was going to say, well, yeah, I mean, it's, like, is this enough to get us to the championship lead, but not consistent enough to pull away. Tough when Stewart's just right there every day. I think it makes it more competitive in this Busch Series season because you only have select drivers that are running the full schedule as not only just the fantasy drivers, but even most of the non-fantasy drivers are Cup regulars. And we are not on this season versus we were with Jimmy Johnson the season before that. Not a great corner there by Boyer. And Busch overdrives the entry to turn 1 and loses time on his own on the other end of the racetrack. $72 people. I mean, close enough. Still bigger than my class. What time is practice tomorrow? 6 p.m. 6 p.m. Eastern practice, 50-minute full session. Truck races at 8 p.m. tomorrow. And then qualifying's at 5 p.m. Eastern for the Cup Series on Saturday. We'll be streaming that as well. Streaming, obviously, practice and truck race tomorrow. Xfinity race, 7 p.m. Eastern on Saturday night. And at 2:30 p.m. Eastern on Sunday afternoon, we'll go live with our Cup Series coverage. Tony Stewart not in third anymore either. One of those Pennzoil Roush cars has gotten by him. Not sure if that's Mark Martin or Matt Kenseth. The speed Mark Martin's had recently, I'd probably lean towards Mark Martin, but man, if only Mark Martin was at 800 points back. Actually, I think he's over 1,000 back. Because he's behind that group of 3 that's between 3rd and 5th in points. Well, he would have ran every race and isn't 1,000 points back. I mean, he has had just as much speed, if not more speed, than me on a regular basis over the last 10 races or so. He's won just as many races as me in the last 8. Both got 3 apiece in the last 8. Stewart's got 1, and then Kenseth's got 1. And he's catching up to this 2-car group here at the front of the field, so maybe long run speed is going his way as well. So I didn't check to see if practice is supposed to be on USA Network exclusively tomorrow. I'd assume qualifying definitely is. I'm surprised, honestly, it hasn't been on USA Network the last 2 weeks as late in the season as it is. You would expect, like, later in the playoffs to be a priority to put it on cable television at the very least, but they've actually been held on the NBC Sports app, so off the top of my head, I'm not entirely sure. I just got the start times, and we'll have our start times in the community tab listed later tonight as well. Just ran our fastest lap of the race, 22.852. That was faster than the qualifying lap to get on the pole by around 1/10 of a second. But I also could have ran much quicker in qualifying, considering I had the pole on lap 1, lap 2 I ended up getting in the wall off turn 4. Yeah, I saw about that. I think a lot of people were missing the details when I was reading some of the comments underneath like random posts that had that fine. Like Bot Podcast, for instance, when he ended up tweeting it out on X, or posting the message on X, I guess technically, yeah, they were like talking about like how woke NASCAR is and stuff. From what I've gathered, NASCAR did not know that was the reason why he missed. So I'd imagine during the appeal process, it's going to get rescinded, I would imagine. Like, if NASCAR had known that was the reason he missed, I'm sure they wouldn't have fined him. Now, another thing is, too, of all times in the day when you know you have to be somewhere, why did you wait for that specific time to go vote is my question. Like, the only other thing I can think of is like maybe he was stuck there longer than he was expecting to be, because I know those lines can be big from what I've been told. Especially when you live in a major city like Charlotte, I would imagine it's way more, populated than where I live. But yeah, that would be the only question I have in it. But from what I heard from people at NASCAR, or people within the sport, they didn't know that's why he missed. He just wasn't there. Therefore, it's like, oh, well, he's not here. He's supposed to be here. We'll find him. And then it came out that he had said something about, hey, I was voting. That's why I missed it. But a lot of people were up in arms about it, like, oh, NASCAR did this, like, to prove a point. Or it's like, no, it was just a misunderstanding, actually. So I'd imagine that during the appeal that the fine is not going to be upheld. I'm sure it will get taken down. On USA, well, that's good. Practice and qualifying. 5 streaming services because of racing. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some other alternatives that don't even show NASCAR for the streaming side of things. At least NBC Sports app, at least it's free. You don't have to pay for it. It's not behind a paywall when it's there. If you're talking about my thoughts on the penalty itself, I did talk about it last night because that news actually broke midstream. I actually paused it for a little bit when I had to make a pit stop during one of those cautions in the race. But yeah, I mean, just to kind of shortly preface my rethoughts on it, I guess, I don't know that it's going to be enough to deter people from, manipulating outcomes of the races any further. think the fine itself, I wouldn't have imagined that there would have been more of a fine financially. I think the only other thing you could do is maybe suspend the driver race, because that, I think, could be a deterrent to keep them from wanting to do it again. Because I think, you know, a spotter, for instance, is a lot more replaceable than the driver. Especially when you talk the financial side of things of selling sponsorship. Like, they're selling sponsorship knowing Bubba Wallace is going to be in that car. So when he's not in that car, I'm sure the sponsors aren't happy. And if you're not pleasing your sponsors, obviously that could be a bigger deterrent to keep maybe teams from not wanting to push this issue, even if the manufacturers are telling them to do so. They're going to be like, hey, we can't afford to, you know, lose our high-profile driver for either sponsorship obligations or depending on the situation, which we didn't see this time around. So I clipped the apron, and to the lead goes Mark Martin. Dang it, man. That's the one thing that sucks. I try to go into talk about random stuff, and I swear I do this like once every couple races. At least I saved it. Oh, and a lap after taking the lead, Mark Martin blows a motor. Well, so much for that. I can't believe I saved that car, first and foremost. Good thing we stayed green. Didn't lose a ton of track position. And we got one of those spots back immediately after Mark Martin blew a motor, who looked like he might have had the fastest car if he had gotten to the lead, and he did. He led one lap, and he blew an engine. Should be able to get to Kyle Busch. No, it's not your fault. I like reading your guys' comments. I like talking NASCAR. This is the best place to hash my opinions on it. I can't talk to, you know, people at work about it because I don't really know anybody that follows it close enough. But I feel like I used to be better at doing that. I've just noticed myself making those mistakes lately. On this season in particular. Maybe I'm starting to hit my decline. I've hit my my video game racing peak. Maybe that was my peak like a year or two ago, and now I'm just not as dominant as he used to be. I am kind of curious, though, if I continue this channel like for a long period of time. I'm wondering what this would look like when I'm in my 30s. And then I get like close to the age of 40. Do you think like my reaction time is going to be slower, so I'm just going to start to slowly decline on legend difficulty? Yeah, it should be a one-stopper. I pretty much got my point across. I talked about it last night, though. I was pretty much at the end of my thoughts on it. Now we got to find a way to get by Kyle Busch. At least we don't have to pass both him and Mark Martin. Trying to use this lap car as a pick. Little cut. Able to do it successfully there. This car is definitely wiggling around a lot more. Probably burnt the tires off of it quite a bit when I got really loose clipping the apron, but even before that, it felt a little bit more free as this run's gone on. I mean, I definitely like the walls. He couldn't hold the outside off turn 2. Now we're going to get picked behind these two lappers in front of us. Looked like Menard might have gotten up against the wall. 3 wide. More contact with Kyle Busch. It is definitely a dangerous area to be making contact, but we're getting him back. He only led 1 lap at a time there. I might have to tighten the car up a little bit more, honestly, when we get to that first pit stop. It definitely feels a little too loose. And we still got another roughly 40 laps to go before we can pit. Ran our fastest lap of the race that last time. And loses fast if you can hold on to it. But trying to hold on to it's getting a little tougher. NASCAR 7 into my 80s. Probably not. I don't think it'd be this game specifically. I'd be shocked if PS2s can last as long as they can by that point. I don't know that I would want to play like a remastered PC version because I just don't feel like it'd be the same thing. I feel like the feel of it would just be a little bit different. I mean, the PSP version, for instance, is definitely different from this version. I had both versions of it. I would honestly say the PSP version was a lot easier because I can remember dominating on Legend difficulty and winning a lot of races. Like, I can remember on Cup Series, for instance, I would win like 30 races in the season. Every time I played through it. Legend difficulty, and that was when I was a kid. Kid into my, like, teenage years. Young teenage years. Another car blowing up on the bottom of the track. Tough to tell who that was. It's either Brian Vickers or is a fantasy car of some sort. Yeah, the minute I have to drop the difficulty to be competitive, I think is the minute that I'm going to end up stopping the gaming content on the channel. That might be the deterrent there that gets me to retire. Or a lifelong diagnosis of carpal tunnel. That might do it too. Happens if I drop the difficulty just slightly. I'd probably dominate every race. If I dropped it to veteran difficulty, I guarantee I'd be dominating every race. I'd probably go undefeated, honestly. I mean, the only thing that would take me out of going undefeated would be cautions and weird spots. Kind of force a different pit strategy, but I'd be the fastest car like every single track we go to, which isn't the case right now. We've got the short tracks figured out. See, that's another thing, too. I guarantee I'll probably have a little bit more of a struggle when we get to NASCAR 08, NASCAR 09, because I've never played those games before. So those seasons, I would imagine, are going to be fairly competitive. Same thing into the Eutechnics games. Like, everything after this game is going to be foreign territory for me. Oh, contact. I think we actually led that lap at the line still. Trying to hold the outside, but Kyle Busch is going to get back to the lead again. We're looking for the crossover move off turn 4. 3 wide and tight. And I got out of the gas because I knew I was not going to be able to hold that line above the apron. Didn't want to spin out. Gonna have to find a way to get around him after the lap traffic then. There we go. Clean pass through 3 and 4. Busch a little loose off turn 4. Looked like. Really hoping that pack of cars up there separates by the time we get to them. Definitely going to push this as far as we can. NASCAR 2011 when we get there. I plan on touching all of them at some point. Obviously, we're going in sequential order. And once NASCAR 25 ends up coming out too, that'll probably hinder the progress of the classic game. So it's going to take a long time to get there. Once we wrap everything up, I still have an idea of what I'm going to do after that. But we still got the NASCAR Thunder 04 career mode that we're working on as well. Which I haven't touched in almost a year, but we'll get back to it at some point. Because I know I'm just going to end up dominating on those seasons, but I want to get to that petty 200 win mark. We've got a long time in the channel history for the future side of things, so it might be a while before we get to that. Just once I get into these seasons on these games, I like to try to get them done as soon as possible so they don't take forever. But I knew that career mode when I started it was going to take forever because to get 20 seasons, I mean, it's a long time. We got about a quarter of the way there, and probably make it a little harder on me going away from that game for as long as I have. All right, Kevin Harvick, last car in the lead lap now, one of our teammates. Imagine everybody else going to be on the same strategy of trying to make this race on one stop. Boyer getting through the lap traffic pretty nicely at this point. I'm honestly scared to make an adjustment change. Like, I know I could tighten it up a little bit, but as hard as it is to pass cars at this track, because I feel like even though I'm getting through the lap traffic pretty good for the most part, it still feels like a tight space in the center of the corner every time I'm side by side with somebody. I'm really trying not to obviously hit that apron, spin out. I clipped it that one time earlier and got really loose. Really don't want to do that again. Saved it once. I don't know if I can save it again. And I feel like if I were to tighten it up a little bit, running side by side is going to be a lot harder. Borsed blowing an engine right in front of us now as he tries to get to pit road off turn 4. Gets out of the way. And from the tail end of the lead lap now to the tail end of the leaderboard. Boris said. First NASCAR game I ever played? I know I had NASCAR Thunder 2002, excuse me. I would assume that that was the first one I would have ever played then. So I'd imagine I pretty much went in chronological order. Still on Team 24 and 24. Well, I wish your driver good luck this weekend as a good sport, but I still hope my guy wins it. I got my championship hat on tonight. My Ryan Blaney championship hat from last season. I'd like to add another one to my collection. We had cars pitting way early, by the way. Everybody that's pitting right now, I don't think they're going to be able to make it on one stop, pitting at lap 92. Kyle Busch hasn't hit pit road yet. Lap 95 at the line. Still within a half a second off the lead. He pits before us. He will probably cycle out in front. And I think Busch actually just came to pit road that time. So he'll pit early to try to gap us and get the lead, but is he going to be able to make it on fuel all the way to the end of the race would be the next question. Boyer still looking to make this thing on one stop. Good news is for us as well, Tony Stewart has not led at all in this race. Hopefully that continues to stay that way as well. Lucky shoes on. Lucky hat. I don't have shoes. I don't have Ryan Blaney shoes, but got some shirts. I got some hats. Got a flag. Some die casts. I got a helmet. I got a replica helmet, too. Lucky boxers. I remember when I was a kid, I had Ryan Newman boxers. Wrong number 12 driver. I remember having those. I think I had some Dale Jr. ones too. They're like the pajama boxers. Pit at lap 102. I think that's a good idea. Make it a little bit past lap 100 so we know for sure that we can go one less lap on the back run. Actually, technically, it'd be 2 less laps. Only have to go 98 laps on this next tank. We went 102. But Boyer will be pitting this time. There were some drivers that also made it to halfway. Some of them didn't. So we'll probably have a mix of drivers that can make it on one stop and can't. Now we need the good pit road entry. Big slide. That cost me some time. I had to almost come to a complete stop there trying to catch it. I dropped down to 50 miles an hour before I could gas it back up to around 70, which is a pit road speed limit. Yeah, it was Brian Vickers that blew an engine earlier, by the way. I did see that correctly then. So Mark Martin and Brian Vickers are out of the race. Borset obviously out as well. First game he ever played was 06. Catch the Wings game last night? I did not. I tapped out early. I went to bed pretty early last night. All right, well, Boyer getting up to speed. A little over 3 seconds off the lead, about 3.4 seconds behind Busch. Boyer should get the most laps led in this one, and we are in second. Plenty of time to get up there. I'm not worried about it. Fuel's looking good. And NASCAR 5 is my favorite, but as far as the first, yeah, I think it was Thunder 2002. I think the soundtrack on 05 was probably my favorite as well of the NASCAR games. That and Thunder 04. I think there were songs I liked more on Thunder 04, but from top to bottom, I'd say that NASCAR 05 was my favorite of the playlist on the NASCAR games. I didn't, like I said though, I haven't played 08 or 09 or the Technics games, so I have no clue what the soundtracks are on those games. Zero clue what songs they have. I mean, yeah, I played a bunch of other ones other than 05, but that was just my favorite. Well, yeah, I always played a bunch of sports games growing up. A lot of the games I have now are the ones I had in my youth years. NCAA football, Madden. I pretty much got Madden like every year from 06 was the first one I had through, man, what was the last time? I gotta think of like who was, whatever year Antonio Brown was on the cover, I think that was the last one I bought. I pretty much got Madden every year up until then. Yeah, the MLB, the shows, 2K, NHL games, pretty much all the sports games of different ones I watched. 2K was the last one for NBA. That was like the last of the like sports games that I actually got into. So I don't think I played my first one there until like 10. I don't know why it took me so long to come around to it. I think actually I had MLB The Show. It was like the first sports game I had that wasn't a NASCAR game. Outside of wrestling, I had some wrestling games too, if you were to count those. I had every SmackDown versus Raw from the original one through, what was it, 2011 was the last one they had. Little contact with Busch. Trying to keep the two-car pinned tightly to the bottom with the side draft, but Boyer clear. Off turn 4 and back in the lead. And up against the wall in 1 and 2 goes Boyer as well. Ouch. That hurts him. Shooting games? Yeah, I never got into shooting games. Like, I played Call of Duty at a friend's house a couple times. A couple different people's house, but I never... Same with, like, Grand Theft Auto. I remember playing that a couple times, too. I never actually owned any of those games. I think the thing that attached me to sports games the most personally is just because, like, I would watch that team, and it was as if I owned the team, essentially, playing, like, a bunch of franchise and season modes. Like, I had control of, you know, the outcome of the thing that I liked watching the most. That really gravitated and pulled me into that. And playing sports growing up, too, obviously helped with that also, I'm sure. It'd be hilarious though if somebody played GTA just as if it was real life, like that. Like they just do all the random stuff you would do in your normal everyday life. You just go to work, come home, put food on the table, go to bed, wake up, watch your favorite TV shows at night, scroll aimlessly on your phone for about an hour a day. just random stuff. Playing it like it's a life simulator. .810. Fastest lap of the day for Clint Boyer. 75 laps to go this time by. Boyer right behind Dale Earnhardt Jr. Trying to put this 8-car lap down. Earnhardt coming in off a top 5 last night at Richmond. Led some laps in that race. He blocked me like he was at Richmond, too. Oh, overdrove the entry to 3, though. And that's the path needed for Boyer to put him a lap down. Still caution-free in this race, by the way. It would be our 4th caution-free race of the season. It'd be our 3rd in the last 5 races. We had back-to-back caution-free races before this week started. Can't do right. Yeah, basic rules of the road, I guess. Plus, there's a sign that says don't turn right on red. Or curb lane only. NASCAR kart racing, was that the one on the Wii? If that's not it, then I don't know what you're talking about. And if that is it, then no. Because I didn't have a Wii growing up either. My sister always wanted one, but we never ended up like actually having one ourselves. I know of the game, and that's about it. I remember playing the other racing games. I remember playing NASCAR related. I had NASCAR Unleashed on the PS3. Maybe we'll have to break that out on the channel some random time. I gotta get a PS3 again, though, too. I don't have one right now, so maybe down the line we'll end up doing that. Yeah, I had that, and then I had Jimmy Johnson's Anything on Wheels, I think it was the game it was called. I think I remember having a Hot Wheels game at one point for my PS2. A Hot Wheels racing game. There's also a, or Burn, something like that. We've gone over that before on the channel. It's been a while. Whatever racing game it was, where like if you got in a severe accident, it would literally project your your driver out the windshield of the car. A lot of death in that game. It was not rated E for everybody. The figure 8 race is on that game, by the way. Run a figure 8 race. You're bound to have some death. There were literally demolition derbies on there you could run, and it was literally the lone survivor would be the winner. You basically had to kill every other driver. But that was always hard, though, too, because you had to hit him in the right spot without obviously killing your own driver. Damage the front of the car enough. Have to hit him in unique ways. All right, 60 laps to go this time. Bye. Had some World of Outlaw racing games, obviously, too. Who do I think wins the football game tonight? I don't know. The division games are always tough to predict. Both offenses are explosive. I expect it to be a high-scoring game. I can tell you that much. I think whoever ends up winning the game is definitely going to end up having 4 touchdowns or more. Both defenses are kind of mediocre at best as well. I'm going to lean towards the Ravens because I do think they're the better overall team, but not by a whole lot. Because the Bengals are really starting to turn the corner, I feel, from the little bit that I've seen out of them. Halo on the Xbox? Yeah, I've never even touched a Halo game. Yeah, really the only shooting games I ever did play, I guess, would have been a typical like shooting game would be Call of Duty. I couldn't even tell you which one it was, to be completely honest. Might have spent a whole hour and a half to 2 hours on it my entire life. I don't play those kinds of games, I guess. I don't know. Just it's not my DNA. I know a lot of people play it, obviously. I'm not like a typical gamer person, though, either. Like, yeah, we do this on the channel during the week of NASCAR races, but it's also a NASCAR-oriented channel. We'll have to see what our pacing on fuel is going to look like. We should get to half a tank sometime soon. We pit at lap 102. So to be able to make it to the end, we have to get to 49 laps to go before we get to halfway. To pace the 49 laps on each side of the fuel tank. We're right at 50 to go currently. Great, thanks for tuning in. I have not played Wreckfest. I've gotten a lot of recommendations for it, but I have not played it. Oh, Busch gonna get to the inside. Clint Boyer side by side for the lead. I really pinched him down quite a bit there. Oh, there you have it. Busch back out in front again. Every once in a while, he's just able to get that nose to the inside. Oh, little contact. Pass made for the lead, though. I'm surprised I held a steady wheel through that corner with the contact and as close to the apron as I was when he hit the right side of my car. that was a mistake. Up against the wall, up off turn 2, and Busch almost capitalized on it. 17 car to our outside, bouncing off the wall now as we're trying to put him another lap down. Get him in turn 1. 45 to go. We are halfway out of gas, but we are plenty good to make it to the end. We still have to get through 2 of our field passes here today, so we'll just start to take those now. And we will transfer to Jeff Burton in the 21 car first. Lap down in 14th for Jeff Burton. I didn't realize we had that many cars a lap down, but obviously with the going caution-free to this point, that would explain why. Seems like another half a lap behind me from going a second lap down. I don't think we'll catch him before the end, but lap and a half off the lead. He's going to have to start getting more top 10 finishes if he's going to want to get into the top 10 in points from where he's at right now. 13th coming into this one. And he had an engine failure 2 races ago, too, which dropped him from 11th back to 13th in the points. Got a hot finish yesterday. Kevin Harvick in the 29 car is even further back. 18th. 1 lap down. That's a spot for 17th on Cleaver. A little air loose potentially there for the 2 of Boyer. 117 just slammed the wall getting into turn 1. Oh, Busch is in the lead. My bad. We were behind almost a second. Already easily clinched the most laps led. We did that around 75 to go. That was quick, too. Last I checked, he was still out in front. Busch catching a few lappers. Struggling to get by the 163 car right now. Stuck behind him for quite some time. Now he finally gets to the inside. Boyer follows Busch to get by the 2 lap cars that Busch passed it. Down the back straightaway into 3 and 4. Side by side for the lead at the line. Busch leads again. Boyer is there. And Boyer makes the clean pass despite the tight squeeze by the 5 car. Gets past Denny Hamlin. The 163. .34 to go. Busch goes wide. Oh, an old contact with the lap car off turn 2 as well. Busch scraped the wall, in fact. Denny Hamlin going to get by. Busch getting held up just a little more. I guess we'll take ourselves into that final field pass this time by. Well, we've got a little bit of a gap on Busch after that wall contact. We still don't 100% know if Kyle Busch is going to make it on fuel the rest of the way. He pitted at lap 95. The earliest we saw cars pit was right about lap 92. So I definitely don't think everybody's going to make it. So unless we were to get that first caution, just don't know. Harvick a little loose off turn 4. That was right before I took control of him. Class reunion next summer. Did you say he graduated 2017? Thought I saw that earlier in the stream. It's kind of a weird year for a class reunion. Isn't that like 8 years? Well, didn't lose the lead to Busch yet. But he had a run on the front straightaway entering turn 1. Gets back to the inside. Door to door for the lead. Trying to hold him tightly down there on the bottom of the track. Still side by side. It's a good battle. These two have been side by side for 2 whole laps now. Bowyer's hanging on strong up high. And these two are closing in on some lap cars while running very tightly door to door. 2 had the nose out in front entering turn 3, but you can see Busch pushing harder in corner entry. Oh boy, that's going to hurt. And we were only able to do that for so long until that happened. Surprised we did it as long as we did, to be completely honest. We'll get him back. The old fat lady ain't screaming yet. Oh, Lapper pulling down right into Bowyer. Bowyer getting a piece of the wall off turn 2 as he was still trying to catch his car. Bad move by that lap car. Right on the leaders, 22 to go. Flip of the apron, a bobble by Bowyer, and a run to the inside for Busch. Just able to block it, though, was Clint on the bottom of the racetrack. I thought we had the lead lost there for a second. Our last caution yesterday sparked a restart with 9 laps to go at Richmond. Luckily for ourselves, Bowyer isn't a rival, like Mark Martin and Tony Stewart were, who were running behind us for the majority of that race yesterday. Wow. 22.766 that last lap. I think that was the first 22.7 I ran the entire race. Pulled that out of my ass. $17 to go. Giving ourselves just a little bit of separation on the 5 car. I haven't even hit a quarter tank of gas left at this point in the run. I mean, we're way good on fuel. There's never a question for us anyway, but it definitely is for Kyle Busch. 22.667 that last lap. Again, our quickest lap of the day. First 22.7, then the first 22.6. Oh boy, push a little wide, up against the wall after contact with Greg Biffle. Well, so much for that gap we were building. That was on me. Definitely pushed a little too hard on corner entry there. We got a lot of cars pitting, though, right now that are way short on gas. I don't think Busch is going to make it. Try to get back by Biffle, hopefully cleanly this time. Yeah, it was a lot better that time. That felt like a Ross Chastain move. Yeah, we can go with that, I guess. I think we're going to be the only one that's going to make it on one stop, honestly. And if we do have some drivers make it, that's going to push Tony Stewart probably back further in the running order also. Unless he's one that makes it. Busch just pitted. 12 laps short. Coming to 12 to go at the line there for Boyer. So Busch is on pit road. Definitely makes the life of Clint Boyer easier. Catching the lapper in a bad spot there, but it's all right. Big lead now. 1 lap lead. Last car in the lead lap. Well, yeah, this race going caution free alone just won us the race. I would have known it was going to be that easy. Sound is off again. I'm not going to worry about it at this point. I don't want to pause it just to fix it because we're so close to the end of the race. Is it cutting in and out, or is it just completely out? So got some lappers that are just coming onto pit road. Trying to stretch it to the end. I mean, that could be the wrinkle, I guess, in that running order that we were looking for. Stewart gets a little bit further back of a finish. I mean, we saw him in third, and then after a while, we just didn't see him anymore. Mark Martin would have been the third place car at one point in time. He took the lead, blew an engine as soon as he took the lead from us in the first half of the race. So he could have been a contender to lead a lot more laps. Obviously, with this thing going caution free, it wasn't really going to matter in the end, but at the time, I mean, he was right there with Busch, if not faster than Busch, and Busch was keeping up with us and passing us at random times. Late! Oh, no! Well, we didn't need a caution. First time I did that. 7 laps left. Well, it was a perfect race. I mean, I don't think that's gonna really hurt me much. I lazily hit the back of the car against the inside wall, but there isn't too much damage on it. It showed only 3.8 seconds. Well, I guess we're not going to have our 4th caution-free race of the season. That could have been a lot worse. Luckily, there's nobody around us. And luckily, we already had the field lap because they already pitted in extra time. The only hope is if Kyle Busch is on the lead lap because of that spin, which he's not. Okay, he's still lap down. Thank goodness. I was going to say, man, if he was going to be on fresher tires, look out. Luckily, he's not. Tony Stewart's in 3rd right behind him. Well, 2-lap green, white checker restart. It'll be kind of hard to hold him off here on these older tires. White flag in the air, 1 lap to go. Oh, Stewart's going for 2nd. He's going to get by Kyle Busch. Down into turns 3 and 4. He's trying to make a run at Boyer. As we get up off the exit of the corner, he's not going to be able to get to me and wreck me, so that's good. Well, a little lazy spin there, but ultimately we got the win. Luckily, everybody already pitted that 2nd time already. If they hadn't, would have made it more interesting. Well, it was a near perfect race. Outside of that little spin with 7 laps to go, it was a perfect race, but I'll take it. Good win. Unfortunately, Tony Stewart finished in 2nd. He did not lead any laps, though. So that's good. Kept him from leading the lap. And the only 2 drivers that finished 1 lap down were Busch and Stewart. Everybody 4th on back finished at least 2 laps down. We led 164 laps. Kyle Busch led for 34, and Mark Martin would have led 1. Maybe he led 2 then before he blew an engine. 1 lap. So the math isn't mathing right. That means either Busch ended up leading 35 laps instead of 34, or I led 165 instead of 164. But either way, got to give us what they gave us, I guess. So 164 for us, Busch 134, Mark Martin for 1. 20 lead changes, that probably isn't right. It usually isn't on this game for some reason. Mark Martin, Brian Vickers, Boris said, R. Kennedy were the 4 drivers that ended up not finishing this race here tonight. As mentioned already, 1 lap margin of victory, 1 hour, 21 minutes, 44 seconds. Total time on this one, average speed 146.8 miles per hour. 1 caution, 20 lead changes. I mean, we were 7 laps away from a caution-free race until I fudged that up. But we got the win and the max points day, and Stewart didn't lead a lap. That's all that matters. We did all we could up until that point. It was one of our better races of the season. Win number 16 now. How about that? Win number 16. Next race is going to be at the Kansas Speedway. And that will be coming up on Monday. So Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern, we will go live Kansas Speedway race. 89-point lead over Stewart. We gained 20 points on him. 941 back to Jeremy Mayfield in 3rd now. And Kenny Wilson 5th is now over 1,000 back. Harvick still 8th. Jeppert moves up 1 spot in points now to 12th. Passing Greg Biffle. And yeah, All right, 89-point lead, 6 races to go. We'll finish out the season next weekend. Monday, Kansas. Charlotte on Tuesday. Wednesday, Old Spice Speedway. Texas on Thursday. Phoenix on Friday. And our championship will be at Homestead Saturday night, 1 week after the actual Xfinity Series championship. So that is what we have to look forward to next week. New times next week, I'm going to go back to 6 p.m. I was testing something out by doing it at 5:30 this week. But we'll go back to 6 p.m. Just kind of routinely trying to change my my workout schedule a little bit. So that's why I was changing the stream start times around. So I think we're going to try starting them as close to 6 p.m. as possible. But, I mean, it'll vary, which I'll keep you updated, obviously, in the community tab. Again, as we get into next week. So, see you guys again, 6 p.m. for Monday. Obviously, live commentary content will return again tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern, for our Cup Series practice session at Phoenix. Truck Series race tomorrow night. Let's begin championship weekend on strongly. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good rest of your